So tonight we're going to have uh, Katrina Coker, and she is also known as a Scrum Mother. And that's how I first met her. Brought on board. She did some presentation stuff and everything, and she's good at that. And she's going to talk about the future of Scrum and the Scrum Master role. Talk a little bit AI. Is Agile dead? Will AI replace Scrum Masters? We'll see how it flows in here. And I just want to welcome Katrina to coming to here and sharing her knowledge with everyone and appreciate it very much. And with that, I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to you go ahead and share your screen and
All right, let me get my setup here. So I have y'all in front of me and I can
we can see it.
see
So that's
you.
good.
Okay. So yes, can you give me a thumbs up? You're seeing the future of the Scrum Master role, my presentation.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love me some visual cues. All right, y'all. So yes, my name is Katrina Coker. Thank y'all so much for having me. I want to always start off by saying thank you. You could be anywhere else tonight, and you chose to be here with us and specifically to welcome me as your guest. So I appreciate you and your time. And I always strive for this to be one of the most valuable uses of your day. And if it is not, I'm going to ask you at the end. Then my goal has not been achieved. But I go by the Scrum Mother. It is a term of endearment a previous team gave me, but it is also social media handles and also the name of my business as well. So it has been incorporated. And you can ask me at the end if we have time how that name came about. I'd love to tell you. I do have social media videos where I post all about what we do on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and now YouTube. The QR code that you see, I'll have it at the end. It's also to my website to where you can check out what I do, but also I'm in the process of writing my second book. And if you want to receive updates about the book, you can join the newsletter. In terms of why I am here, I'm going to be able to walk you through that, give you a little bit of an introduction. We'll talk about what does a Scrum Master do anyway, right? Before we talk about the future, what do we do today? Then we'll talk about how do we think that's going to evolve, how that involves AI. We'll have some QA. What is out of scope? We will not be talking about is Agile and Scrum 101, the Scrum Guide, Scrum Master certifications. Okay. But before I go into that, why are you here? If you could post in the chat or if you can come off mute and let me know what piqued your interest about this topic. Is there a specific question you're seeking that you will learn tonight? And I've got the chat in front of me, so you're welcome to come off mute or post. AI in the future. Okay, so that's a particular interest. All right, anyone else? Oh, future of Agile and Scrum. Okay, thank you, Dev. Thank you, Greg. Generally, how the Scrum Master role will change with AI and companies hiring the Scrum Masters. Awesome AI. AI, how can AI help Scrum Masters help the teams be more productive? Agile is dead. How can we keep it from dying? Great questions. All right. So I think y'all will be very pleased with the agenda we have because I think that we'll touch on all of these. Now, what I will say is usually when I'm presenting from teaching you something. And I do have a presentation that will help guide us, but this will be very conversational, right? Because I want this is a particular topic that the future depends on where we want it to go. What are we doing? How are we participating in it? Okay. So with that being said, just a little bit, thank y'all for answering that. A little bit about myself. I am originally from Sugar Hill, Georgia. If you've ever heard of Lake Lanier, Mall of Georgia in the state of Georgia, that is where I'm originally from. That's at the top right-hand corner. And then now I live in Johns Creek, Georgia, which is about halfway between there and the city of Atlanta. So I am northeast of Atlanta, about 30, 45 minutes. But if you are familiar with traffic, 30 minutes can quickly turn into an hour and a half, depending on the time it is. And I live with my two cats, Avery and Fiona. Do we have any cat or animal lovers here? Okay, we got Greg, Trish, Jan. All right, Tammy. So I have two cats. One of them loves to be nothing more than attached to me. And that is Fiona. That's my black cat. So she may make an appearance, just letting you know. Right now, they're settled. As far as other fun facts, love to travel. Food is my favorite food. And here I am, the top left-hand corner was the Napa Valley wine train in Napa Valley, California. 10 out of 10, highly recommend it. As well as then I just recently went to the Denver area, Colorado. And so this was the sunset, the top right-hand corner that I got there just in time. And then another fun fact that I turned 40 in this year in January and actually used Scrum to train for my first half marathon that I did on my 40th birthday. And it was using Scrum and iterating, made it an almost flawless day. So that's also part of my story of how I use Scrum to manage my life and how I think it matters. So we'll talk about that later. And then in terms of those of you that live in New Jersey, I have a little bit of a connection. My great grandfather has a plaque in Fords, New Jersey. The park actually used to be called Joseph A. Dambeck Fords Park. It's not called that anymore, but there's a plaque in there. So I don't even know. Last time I went, I had to go search in the grass for it. But if you know anything about Fords, New Jersey, that's a little bit of a connection. In terms of what gives me credibility to be here, I have been in the Agile community formally since 2016, where my adventure has been from a business analyst to a product owner to a Scrum Master to now content creator, CEO, owner of my own company, and then as of November of 2024, a published author for Scrum Masters. So I am heavily invested in the future trajectory of Scrum Masters. Not only am I been a full-time Scrum Master, I'm currently a contract Scrum Master full-time with a client. I coach and mentor other Scrum Masters. I have been on the hiring committee of Scrum Masters. I've been terminated as a Scrum Master role elimination, but I multiple times, which is also why I'm invested in this. And then not only did I publish my book last year, I'm currently writing my second book of the Scrum Master First 90 Days. So let me tell you, I am definitely interested in this topic. And especially if I'm writing a book for Scrum Masters, I want to make sure they exist. And the role is going to still be relevant. Okay. Now, moving forward, this is just a fun little thing for anybody who's interested. I'm going to invite you to turn on your camera. And I have a little bit, I filmed of a little bit of a video, TikTok. It's literally 5 seconds if anybody is interested. But if you're not interested in being on camera, feel free to turn your camera off. Okay. All right. And so if you are familiar with audio, the audio literally says, another day, another slave, period. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show the screen, and that's all the video is going to be for anybody who wants to participate. Okay. Does that sound good? All right. So let me do that. All right. Move this out of the way. All right. On the count of 3. Okay. And if you just wave, because it is a video, so you can just wave, thumbs up, what's up, whatever you can do. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'm gonna try that one more time because I don't want the chat in it. Okay. Let's try this one more time. All right. 1, 2, 3. And that's it. That's it. So I'll post that if you follow anything on social media. I'll just a little bit of a connection. You can say you got your 3 seconds of fame. But thank y'all. Thank y'all for your willingness to do that. So something just really fun, right? To kick us off. And that's part of the life. But in all seriousness, I always like to give this disclaimer because I had an employer one time that did not love me, publicly speaking. So I'll say the following information is my experience and not necessarily industry standard nor the opinions of the companies that I work for. Are we good? Thumbs up. All right. So the first question I'm going to ask, this is open to the audience. What does a Scrum Master do? So you can come off mute. You can post in the chat. what does a Scrum Master do? What are activities or things that a Scrum Master does? What type of roles, responsibilities? And I actually, Rhonda, I see your note. Scrum is practical. Completely agree. All right, Natalie says organize. Okay.
Ask you when you're going to get your stuff done.
Okay. So holding accountability, ask you you're going to get stuff done, moves the projects forward, discipline everybody. Okay. All right, keep it coming. We got a few more. Got a few
Make
seconds.
make learning fun.
Okay. Make learning fun. Make work fun. Right?
Mhm.
Not so measurable. Okay. Help the team. Tracking metrics. Okay. Cracks the whip. Keep the team focused. Coaching up. All right. Anybody got a last minute one? Okay. So if you have followed me at all, I'll tell you that all aligns with my perspective of the Scrum Master role. The Scrum Master role, from my perspective and my experience, is the two qualities that make for a great Scrum Master are operations and compassion. And so everything that you just mentioned in my experience falls under those categories, right? Operations, I mean, from Scrum, we can't be Scrum Masters without Scrum, right? So Scrum, setting agenda and expectations, taking notes, following through, facilitation, vision, roadmap planning, even though that's primarily product owner, we need to know about it, right? Metrics and reporting. Then we've got the compassion stuff, coaching and mentoring, teamwork accountability, conflict management, giving and receiving feedback, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and talking to stakeholders. Is there anything else that you think a Scrum Master does that's not listed here? Natalie, it looks like you were going to say something. Nope. Okay. All right. So the question then becomes, in my experience, the future of the Scrum Master role, what is going to happen to these, right, in the future? But the first, let me actually go back before I answer that. Who else has been laid off here? Okay, Trish, Jan, anybody else? You can give me a thumbs up. You don't have to go on camera. Anybody else has been, your role has been eliminated? Okay, cool. What happened to what you were doing? What happened to the things that you did as a Scrum Master?
Got
Rhonda?
absorbed.
Teams. Sorry.
It got absorbed. Okay, when you say that, what does that mean?
Other roles had to play Scrum Master / whatever their originating role was.
Okay, so somebody did, so the responsibilities still were present, but somebody else still had to do them. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, Trish, you said died. Did you mean that like the role died, or the responsibilities died, meaning that nobody else did them?
No one did them, and the whole Agile died.
Okay, so in terms of everything that you did, nobody does any of those activities anymore.
Not where I was. One of my contracts, no. They just
Okay.
went right back to the old way of doing things.
Okay. So in my experience, in my most recent role, my role was eliminated at the beginning of the year. The role actually got combined between a release train engineer role and Scrum Master. So they had their role was actually a release train engineer, but they were operating at the release train level and the delivery team level. But the person was still doing everything I did. They just also ended up doing what the release train engineer would traditionally do as well. Okay. So then that's the question is, like in Trish's experience, does the role like nobody's going to ever do those things that you should do, right? There's not going to be any meeting coordination. There's not going to be any retrospectives. There's not going to be any metrics and data analysis anymore. Or is somebody else doing those? Okay. So in your experience and what you're seeing, what activities will Scrum Masters no longer do? What will we continue to do? What will we continue to do, but it will look different? Or do you think that the Scrum Master role will be non-existent and never be ever again? Because that's an option too. Doug, it looks like you're thinking. What are your thoughts?
I think that a lot of this will continue um, to be able to have to set up. They use Jira at my client to be able
Okay.
to set all that up. Won't follow the Scrum Master necessarily. Maybe they'll be able to do it easier, quicker with AI. I'm not sure, but that would be one thing that could potentially look different.
Okay.
But for someone to be able to know how to do that, to use AI to their
Okay.
advantage.
Okay. Good answer. Anybody else? What will the Scrum Master role ever exist anymore? And the roles and responsibilities we have, what will we continue to do? What will we not do? And what will look different? Greg?
The Scrum Master will be around. They might not call it that anymore. Might be something different. They love throwing out that Agile project manager or something like that. But I think it'll be training AI a lot and how the team operates and help facilitate that activity as a partner to the teams. Is this one area that they'll be doing something different?
Okay. Trish?
I think we'll see one Scrum Master across many more teams than just one or two. And because AI will help with writing stories, and helping to manage our backlog. But I still think it's needed for a lot of teams aren't working efficiently. A lot of organizations aren't structured in the right way to support Scrum or any other framework. So I think that's going to be really needed. But I definitely think from a team perspective, we'll see across more teams, less Scrum
Okay.
Masters in organizations.
Fair. I actually was speaking to not only an experienced Agile coach, but now someone who helps business owners and works with many businesses on either implementing Scrum, Kanban.
Yeah.
And that was actually the person's specific answer. They say that as more companies are embracing artificial intelligence, that that there will be a Scrum Master role, but they will work with multiple teams.
Yeah.
And my perspective is that's probably what's going to happen. I still don't agree with that. I think that the value of the Scrum Master role is getting to know people intimately. And if you can still do that while having the operation stuff mitigated, then I don't care how it happens, right? As long as there is somebody who is focusing on continuous improvement and being dedicated to say what's going well, what's not going well, and that if that is a manager, if that is a team lead, as long as that happens, I care about that. But I think that is what will the aspect of being able to get people centered on actually improvement and being more data focused, such as improving both the individual team as well as the revenue of the company. I think that will be where the Scrum Master role will continue. It just will we continue with actually practicing Scrum? And I'm not so sure. Let's see. I see the Scrum Master, Brian says, I see the Scrum Master role existing and mundane things can be well automated, such as reporting, story pointing. All right. So that goes back up to in terms of what we might already be seeing. I tell you, I practice Scrum. I practice 1 week sprints at home. I am a business owner. I do use Jira. I have a personal instance of Jira where I use it to run my business as well as my personal life. I have 2 separate projects. They are all on one sprint board. I do all of the things. I have sprint planning, daily Scrum, wrap ups, retrospectives. I do those with myself because it works, right? So I think that companies and individuals that want to that value continuous improvement and innovation will put more focus on both the compassion, the people-oriented stuff. The companies that want to continue innovating will maintain that human connection. Some of the operation stuff, it will be the person being able to know how to use artificial intelligence intelligently right? Use it as a tool to our advantage and help to analyze the results for the company, right? So that because somebody has to be able to prompt it, right? And then somebody has to be able to read the results without it, and it still makes sense, right? Go ahead, Trish.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. I think that if the Scrum Master role doesn't exist, all the things that Scrum Masters do will continue in some fashion or state. So I'm looking at your board talking about, conflict management, helping teams to be higher performing, support, helping leadership to support Scrum or whatever framework. But the specific role, I think companies are trying to save more money and they're doing all the cutbacks. So I think a lot of that will exist, but it could be potentially across more people within. So you could divvy
Yeah.
up those kind of roles. And I don't know, I'm just sort of throwing out some ideas there because there are so many changes and with the whole agile coaches that those opportunities have gone from massive amounts to, you don't see them as much anymore. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy for the first 15 years.
Also, I was just so I just got was on another podcast speaking engagement on Monday, and it was more of a Q&A, and we talked about how can the Scrum Master role and Agile in general evolve rather than die, right?
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to me. I'm going to ask two questions. What does Agile mean, and why did we get here? Like, why was Agile created, right? So in my perspective, agile means to be flexible. It means to change, but be open, but having a plan to start with. It means teamwork, collaboration, and your customers getting what they want and need. So my question will always come back to companies who are making changes just to save money is, well, if you're not doing this whole agile thing, what are you doing? What's the alternative? Right? Do you not care about collaboration, teamwork? Do you not care about individuals, your individual teammates not getting overworked? And do you care about retention? Do you care about burnout? Do you care about your customers getting what they want and need? And so anytime I work with teams where they go, oh, we don't do that whole agile thing, I'm like, okay, what do you do then? Just tell me, like, but it's also how we talk about it, because sometimes we put it's talked about as a noun of this thing that's very academic, and you have to take all these certifications and classes and only those people can do it. And that has somewhat caused some of the problem, as well as the other second thing is, why did we get here, right? What wasn't working about waterfall, right? Those of you who said, Jan, what wasn't working about waterfall?
Wouldn't deliver, or it took forever to deliver, or we were never sure when we were going to deliver.
Okay, so we got here because what we found is that when we have stable teams that have the resources, when I say resources, I'm talking about things, not people. So let's be clear. When we have teammates, when we have teams that work together and have the resources they need to be successful, they are more successful. They're more productive. They get in a groove. They become more productive for the company, right? And so when we say, what if we don't have that, right? I mean, my concern is they're going to get to the same, as we start taking all this away, we're going to get to the same problems that existed that got us here to begin with, right? Which is
Yes.
always my concern. And I would recommend this to anybody who is seeking a new role. Why did they go to Agile? If it was a buzzword, if it is say anything like, oh, well, this other company was doing and we thought we'd try it. Not gonna work, okay? But if you ask that question, what problem were you trying to solve? And they actually have problems they were trying to solve. That means that they're doing it with meaning. And the companies that are trying to do it with meaning, I have the last company that I worked with, it's a huge brand, huge brand. Actually, I can say it because it's public. Cox Enterprises, which also has Cox Communications and Cox Automotive. New employees had the opportunity to go to this meet and greet with the CEO. right? And I had the opportunity because I like to know what the CEO thinks about my role in Agile because that helps it dictate it. And I asked the CEO, what does Agile mean to you? He said, you can't innovate without being Agile, right? And he said the companies that are the most successful are willing to embrace agility at their core. And I think that still remains. And if you don't have companies that don't have that, I will not be as successful. And the companies that care about being the best places to work, as well as delivering to their customers, agility you can't evolve without agility, and you can't be innovative. So to Greg's point, why they may not call it Agile, to be Agile is something that will be embraced by the companies that will still want to be successful. And these things, some of the stuff I'm already seeing. I have this towards the end, but things like taking notes. I'm a great note taker, but man, I love me some AI or some Zoom companion or Microsoft Copilot. If you had to ask me in the future, if I see a Scrum Master doing this, they should never be doing this again. It would be if you're recording, specifically if you have a transcript, we should never be only handwritten notes ever again. Now, I got notes. I'm taking notes here, right? I will always take handwritten notes, but that shouldn't be what we rely on. We should be Scrum Masters at our core are resourceful. That's what makes us successful. And being resourceful means we make use of all tools that we have to make us more effective. Anybody disagree with that or have another opinion? So to me, it's not about just, how do we embrace AI? What my coaching practice of Scrum Masters is, what problems do you have? Go find what you can to solve the problems, right? And what can we do that can help everybody's job be easier? Work smart, not hard, right? And so one of the things that I would be shocked if I had more Scrum Masters that were not making use of the AI summaries and looking at the videos and the summaries and action items. That would be an example where I say everybody should learn to do that. Things like things that we will still continue to do the networking and going to bat for our teams with stakeholders, but we can use AI to maybe better facilitate our communication and our value. Like, for example, I recommend to every Scrum Master to have a personal Kanban board, specifically through your job, so you can highlight everything that you've been doing. But instead of just saying, "Oh, these are all the actions I did," you can use AI to say, "Hey, can you convert this into value?" Those are ways that we can be using AI in our job more effectively that maybe we didn't have access. And this comes from a perspective of my mom's an accountant, and I remember when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, my mom used a typewriter for certain things. And I just can't imagine people using typewriters who are going, "Oh my gosh, there's this computer that's going to come in. It's going to steal our job and we can't use typewriters anymore." That's it. We laugh, right? That to this part of us, I think looking back now, it sounds kind of funny. How many of you have seen Hidden Figures, the movie Hidden Figures, or read the book? Okay, great. So I haven't read the book, but I did watch the movie, and I may miss her, Olivia Spencer's character. I know her last name is Spencer, but I can't remember her first name. It might be Olivia. They called them human computers. And when the actual IBM computer was created, she's like, "I'm going to go be the best at that computer. You're not going to get rid of me." And what happened? She and her team learned it, so they were able to teach everybody else when they thought that they were actually going to be the ones that were going to be replaced. That's what I see as a good Scrum Master does, is being able to utilize all the resources around us that will help us be more effective and our teams be more effective. And ideally, our businesses, our employer, to make more money, right? So that we all get to make more money. All right. So the 3 trends that I'm personally seeing regarding the future of the Scrum Master role, Greg already mentioned it, title change. All right. For many reasons, Scrum Master, it may not be Scrum Master forever. might be Agile delivery lead, Scrum lead, continuous improvement lead. What are some other name titles you're already seeing for this? That's anything else that's not listed here. Okay. So, Greg and I talked about this. Is Scrum Master one word or two words? Doesn't even matter, right? Right now, in the future, it may not even matter because we may not even have that as our title anymore anyway, right? So that's one specific thing. The second is dual roles. Now, I believe that this will not always be the case. I think we'll go to this dual role capacity to save money, and they're going to realize it's not working for anybody. It's not helping anybody be more effective. But for right now, we're having more dual roles like release train engineer, Scrum Master, project manager, Scrum Master. Somebody on the call mentioned business analyst and Scrum Master. It could be a variety of things. So that's one trend, product owner and Scrum Master. So fun fact, that's actually how I became a Scrum Master. I was a product owner for a team that it was an interesting team. I only had one team at this company, that had about 10 to 13 people on it that changed every sprint. That was the life. And the person who was operating as a Scrum Master at the time was a lead architect who was also a people manager. I had come from a company where I worked for an Agile consulting company. I had been certified as a Scrum Master and a product owner. And so I started operating in both roles, also had the experience of being Scrum Master, product owner, while they also had a program manager on the team. That was a super dynamic, interesting role. But having experience in dual roles, which is why I will tell you I have pros and cons of it. The pro is that had it not been for that, I may not have actually pursued the Scrum Master role. Okay. And it's the best job for me. I love it. Okay. So the pro is know what your skills are, know where you want to go, know what you want to do, and then do what is going to meet your goals, right? And so if you have a goal of wanting to be a product owner while you're a Scrum Master, then taking on a dual role for now might actually help you get there, right? Or if you knew you want to be a technical program manager, or somebody mentioned product manager, having dual role might help, get you the experience that you want to. On the negative side, having been a product owner and Scrum Master, and that combination specifically has conflicts of interest that I thought I was going crazy being in both of those. Like I literally was in a Scrum of Scrums meeting, and there was a Scrum Master talking about a conflict with their product owner. And I was like, well, I would give you this advice, but in my case, I am the product. I'm the product owner too. So I would say I don't think it is my number one perspective on dual roles is it depends on what the setup is, right? A Scrum Master who only has one team, 5 to 6, 7 plus or 9 people, plus or 2 people, that it could work, right? It could end up once you get past like your 90-day mark of getting to know your team, you may have bandwidth for other roles and responsibilities. Okay. But if you find yourself that is 2 full-time roles, my experience is both roles suffer. Both roles get done very well and the human suffers, or one role gets done really well and the other one suffers. And that is how I'm in my current role, because the product owners were playing both product owner and Scrum Master. And these are also feedback that they had. They're like, please, I wanted somebody to remove the burden from me. Or I do this part really well, but this other part, we basically are just surviving, right? And when I came into the role, and now there's 2 dedicated people, the team members are saying they get the support they need all around. Greg said, take advantage of the opportunity versus saying it is not what I do. Greg, can you expand on that?
So many people, when they get an opportunity to do something, they may say, well, it's not what I was trained to do, or not according to my title is, so they won't take advantage of it. But in the long scheme of things, if you learn new skills, new skill sets, new ways of interacting, that's going to help you with your career over a long period of time.
I agree. I'll give you another example that comes up. one way or the other. Either a developer wants to be a Scrum Master and so might start taking on some of the Scrum Master responsibilities, or opposite, a Scrum Master might actually want to start developing. I have seen them kind of dip toes in both ends. My point of view is I think that that's good for the short term. Mostly dual roles, I think it's good for the short term. I just don't know if it's I don't think it's sustainable long term. If you're a Scrum Master who has 3 teams and trying to have hands-on keyboard time or even get in front of the business, it just can your time is going to get split very quickly. But I think that would be on the road to burnout. But to Greg's point, it's all about what do you want, right? If you come to me and you say, hey, I have this opportunity to be a project manager, and they say it's project manager, but they want somebody, Scrum, but they also want somebody to manage the backlog, I'm going to say that's probably a key indicator that I wouldn't do that. But where do you want to go? Does it look exciting to you? Does it help you thrive? I'll tell you the role that I left, it was a combination of it was a release train engineer role that was now going to be working at the delivery team. The person who filled that role had a much more chaotic opportunity elsewhere. And so that role that person stepped into felt like a breeze to them. Okay. So they loved it. And again, as long as the teams are getting what they need and people have the support all around, I think I can be flexible. Natalie says, makes me think, can a person learn to be open-minded? I think that's a really good question. I think that we have to see where people are coming from. Is it fear? I'm someone that I like to know if I'm going to step into a role, I'm going to be doing it really well. And if I don't think that I can do it well, I'm going to be more hesitant to do that if I haven't had that experience. But if it's somebody that's like, that's above my pay grade, I'll do that. But then you're complaining about not getting promotions and you feel like you've been in the same role for X amount of time, then I'm going to be like, I think you're going against your own desires and your goals here. Looking for advice. As a Scrum Master, how do you handle a dev manager who wears a tech product owner hat and also likes playing the Scrum Master role too? How do you get him to step back from the Scrum Master role? Okay, so good question, Rhonda. The question would be, is this a dev manager and tech PO that's trying to do your role as the Scrum Master?
Yes.
Okay, so my first advice would be, does everybody have roles and responsibilities outlined? Is it very clear between what that person does versus what you're doing? And is this person aware that they're doing this? And then the third question I would ask is, have they given you feedback regarding why they're doing what they're doing? So my advice always comes with questions, right?
Yep.
My advice,
Yep.
I don't give advice without asking, because there's so many questions.
The gentleman is process oriented. He's always been like his background is in help desk activities. So he's very much into problem solving and he likes to do things as quickly as possible. Yes, he knows he's encroaching on Scrum Master space. I have not formally put the roles out there, but he's a smart guy. And we've talked about it and he knows. It's just I didn't want to put it out there and have his dev team, direct hires, be aware that he's, taking on more than what he should. It's almost like it's kind of a slap in the face, and I didn't want to make it as an embarrassing moment. But I've had conversations with him. My manager, who's both of our managers, has had conversations. He just loves the space.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. This is similar to my current role. My current role, I'm a Scrum Master. There is also a business analyst and a product owner. And when I first got there, this was happening all around. The product owner specifically is exactly like your dev manager. They respond very quickly. They like things done a certain way. And when I first came on, both of them, the business analysts and the product owners, were saying that they were stepping on each other's toes and going in each other's lane. And then, of course, when I came on as a Scrum Master, and then previously I was feeling they had already had 3 or 4 Scrum Masters that didn't work out for various reasons. There is the whole thing about who's doing what. In addition to, I come from, has anybody else commented on this? In my case, team members were saying, I don't know who does what. Like, I don't know who to contact. I don't know who my point of contact is. And so I took that into consideration. And that was when I first joined a team specifically, I asked what's going well, what are some of the challenges. So I brought my own observation as well as what the team was saying and the impacts to the team. And so I have 2 product owners, 2 business analysts. We all sat down and we actually outlined what our expectations are of the role. So we got agreement, and then we conveyed it to the rest of the team. So and to your point of the person is a smart person, yeah, people are intelligent. It may not be an intelligence thing. It just may be they're used to working the way that they want to. It's very difficult for them to let go. But if in my case, where I've seen that happen, the people are saying that they're too busy and they feel like they have to do everything themselves and they don't have time to do their own job. So those were all feedback that I could bring, like saying, hey, this is what you're saying. This is what the team is saying. This is what we're saying. So this is something that needs to be resolved. So my personal recommendation is, if is it just you and this dev manager, or is there other Scrum Masters that this is happening with?
I'm the only Scrum Master in the organization, so it is just me.
Are there other product owners?
No, the product owner role is not the organization I'm with is heavy project base. So
Okay.
yeah, no other Scrum Masters in the place.
Do you report to him, dev
No,
manager? I don't know if you
he's
said.
my colleague.
Okay. Okay, so my advice would be 2 things. One, does your manager know this dynamic?
Yes.
And what is your manager's recommendation?
We've had conversations, the 3 of us, and I hope I'm not derailing the conversation, but we've had conversations, the 3 of us, just trying to define those boundaries. But because the organization doesn't have the traditional POs, it's more project based. We're all wearing all kinds of hats, such as the dev managers, also the Azure DevOps admin. He's the tech PO. He's the dev manager. I'm the Scrum Master. I'm coaching other teams that are project based to be more agile. It's a mixed bag of things.
Okay. So I don't think you're derailing conversation, because this goes into our success is going to, our definition of success may look different at every place. And our specific environment may have to be agreed on. So somebody said a team working agreement, someone else said change is very hard, open dialogue would help. And I think in this case, that is going to be, I didn't say this, but my master's is actually conflict management. So this is also a specialty of mine as well. And this isn't a case where it might feel uncomfortable, but where you sit down with a person and say, I think that it's not really clear what each of us are supposed to be doing at any given day. And my opinion is, now this is me speaking, I don't care what it looks like, but we need to come up with some agreement and know who's the point of contact for what, which is what we did in my situation. And I think that probably would be the next best step. If your manager's already done it, y'all have already had conversations, the best bet is to put it on paper. And the way to state it is, what are your expectations? So that way you're not shutting them down. You're saying that person gives that person an opportunity to have a dialogue as to what their expectations are, but then you also can state your expectations and you just come to an agreement on who's doing what and why and what makes the most sense. And then from there, then you can put it, what I did, we have Confluence because we use Atlassian products. So we actually created a Confluence page with this, and then I disseminated it to the team after we had already agreed. And then you reference it.
Hey, Katrina, it's Greg.
Go ahead.
And just want to add one thing out, Rhonda. Um, don't forget to say it's confusing the team and not just you, So it's not you and them, but the team. That's the key of a Scrum Master. It's
Yeah.
not what Scrum Master worries about, it's what the team, how is it impacting the team? And you have that conversation. That way you're not the focal point. But on that note, Katrina, I want to make sure, are we on track for what you wanted to share? If
Yep.
you can hit AI, I want to make sure we're still
Yes.
flowing here.
So then just the other point on trends. So we talked about title change. We talked about these dual roles, what it's going to look like in your organization, contract. So the biggest difference that I see happening is there will be fewer full-time employee Scrum Master roles. There will be more contractor roles. Now I say that I got a message from somebody that a colleague that just signed an offer letter for a full-time Scrum Master role. So I can't say they're going away anytime soon, but if I had to, you know, uh, rub my 8 ball, this is what I see is more contract roles. I'm in a contract role. And now that I've been laid off 3 times in various roles because of role elimination, whatnot, ultimately our role as a Scrum Master is to make teams more efficient and effective. And sometimes that means our role isn't needed anymore. And ultimately, I tell people our role is to work ourselves out of a job, right? So that the teams become as mature. I think we reach a point, actually, the longer we are with a team, it becomes more of a luxury. And I think that if companies have the money to pay for that luxury, every team needs a Scrum Master. But I think my teams that I was with teams, some teams for 3 years, those teams did not need me the same way at year 3 as they did when I first joined, right? And so the role can look different, but I'm seeing where there are more contract roles, and I've also seen where companies don't want to. They will have a long-term contract, but and you might be there for years. I know people, the client that I'm working with now, that has been the case. But it just might be contract versus full-time employee with full-time employee benefits. Okay. So then in terms of AI, I'll start with 3 things that every Scrum Master should know or do. And the first is if metrics and reporting, specifically metrics, data analysis, does not come natural to you, I would say be taking some finance, accounting, business classes. You don't have to go back to college to do that. You can take it from community college, but that would be my preference. Because that's I think going to be the focal point of how I personally have brought value to my teams, where I can look at trends. I'm dedicated to spend time looking at my trends, both qualitative and quantitative, and to provide that feedback. And it's also me working with leadership and managers to say, hey, the decisions that you're making, I can see the path that it's working, or this is when our metrics change is directly correlated with this particular activity. The second thing is facilitation, that I see a big challenge with Scrum Masters even today is being able to read the room. And many people hate Scrum specifically because there's too many meetings. And it's often because people don't know how to run a good meeting, right? So Greg just did an awesome job. He's like, hey, great conversation. Let's get back to it, right? That's a skill that will make people hate you if you don't have that skill, and will make people hate Agile in the Scrum Master role if it's not done well, right? Even if that was the only thing we did, there is value in a well-run meeting and time on your calendar. So putting those 2 together, this actually just happened, where I'm in a business development program, and the coach is saying how Greg and I know the same person. And one of the things says, hey, if you're in a meeting and it's not going well, but we take a look at the salaries that everybody in that room has, or hourly rate, and if their meeting is not going well, how much does that meeting just cost us? Are we getting what we're paying for? That's where we need Scrum Masters and even product owners to be thinking in a way that hasn't been a focus, right? Be more forward thinking. And then we've got AI. So in terms of, that was a big ask of everybody. And I'm going to come from a perspective of, I told you I wrote my first book, Scrum Master Application Interview Process, last year. And I defined it as a comprehensive guide. And feedback from the book was it didn't include enough about artificial intelligence, so it couldn't be considered comprehensive. And so the perspective I'm coming from now is it shouldn't be AI in the Scrum Master role. it should be Scrum Masters, as we said, are resourceful and use all the tools. Should just be part of our daily activities, right? Just as we have with anything else. So on that note, I reached out to my community as well as various forums online, and I asked the question, in your role as a Scrum Master, what AI tools do you use and what actions do you use them? These were, you don't have to read all this, but these were the actual results of what people said. And it ranged from, I don't use it if I don't have to, I don't want to ever use it again, to I use it every single day. And these are all the reasons. So putting that into ChatGPT to summarize, which is again, what we should be doing as Scrum Masters, use our tools effectively. This was a breakdown of how Scrum Masters are using AI to be more effective today. Drafting emails and meeting notes, designing retrospectives and workshops. So you could say, hey, I actually just did this. I said, these are all the challenges my teams are having. This is what we've tried so far. Please put together the top 3 next action items I should do given the situation. Or please put together a 60-minute retrospective broken down by these topics, and facilitate tell me how it should be run. Okay. Backlog refinement and acceptance criteria. People are using AI to write user stories, and they'll put everything they need and have it broken into user stories. Okay, so it's one way. Summarizing meeting transcripts. That's probably the thing that I use it most for. Spreadsheet formulas and automations. I don't know. That was somebody that loved Excel, and I'd be saying, why are you using Excel? Why are you using Excel as much? Creating visuals and presentations, and I have an example that I want to show you. Analyzing tone and team dynamics. I think that's a really great example. I actually am interviewing people for my next book, which is, I'll give you information about that shortly. But one of the things I interviewed managers of Scrum Masters is they use it to write better performance reviews. And I thought that was really good, giving an evaluation. Or like I said, posting everything that you've contributed to the company into AI and to say, please summarize this. Anybody here work for government? Anybody? Greg. Okay, so this person I spoke to said that they have to document every 30 minutes of their work. Have you had to do that, Greg? Working for Gov?
No, no,
Okay.
I've never done that in my how many years of even as
I
a
hate
peon.
timesheets. I have to do it with every job, but I hate timesheets.
Well, timesheet, yeah, but that's not documented
Well,
what you
so
do every 30 minutes.
okay, so they said in this particular client with their particular government client, they have to document their time every 30 minutes, and they can't just put meeting, because if they just put meeting and the client runs a query, it will say all this team does is have meetings. So what they use AI for is they'll put like the agenda of the meeting in ChatGPT and say, can you put a one-liner of the value of how I spent my time? And that's what they use to put on their timesheet. I thought that was pretty
Okay, that
interesting.
sounds like someone who's a subcontractor for the government
That
versus
is.
actual government employee. So yeah.
Okay, that is correct.
But even that, I wouldn't do that. I would, if I was their program manager, as I was for the Bradley Fighting Vehicle, I'd be jumping on them. You're wasting my money on admin costs. What are you doing? I'm just telling you right now, as a program manager, I'd be freaking out. You're making people do that much touching on admin stuff for time counting. You do it at the end
It's
of
a
the
lot.
day.
I thought that was interesting because I never would have thought about that. I have had to do timesheets where we had to put comments, and that's as an FTE. As a full-time employee, my last 2 companies, I had to do that. I hate timesheets. I hate it. I know why. I know why people do it. I hate it. But using it to either as an employee doing a performance review or as a manager providing a better evaluation, those are ways that people are currently using it. All right, so AI tools for Scrum Masters. My number 1 rule is do whatever the security team tells you, okay? Because I have had companies that you could not use ChatGPT on a work computer, okay? They only had very specific tools. So I told you I'm writing my next book, Scrum Master First 90 Days. I'm providing a whole bunch of resources, but this is my this is one area where it's so dependent on the company as to what tools you can use, how you can use them. So my first rule is do whatever security tells you. But in my experience, the two tools that every Scrum Master will have to use at some point is Microsoft Copilot, whether that is through Teams, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, any Google Suite people here, because Google Gemini, right, is the Google AI. I don't have that listed, but that's another one. If you're not a Microsoft house, you might be a Google Suite house, and you can use it to analyze that. I didn't list it here, but Microsoft Copilot also has for Outlook, and you can analyze your email, you can analyze your Teams messages, documents, PowerPoints, and I think that is a tool that everyone should learn how to use, as well as Zoom AI Companion, which is similar. All right. So a few other ones, of course, if allowed. There's a whole bunch, but this is what I'm finding are the most common. ChatGPT, of course, personal assistant. Perplexity, which is similar to ChatGPT. My experience is it's more research-based and will actually provide citations. Opus Clip, where you can upload videos. So for example, whoever owns the recording of this could, y'all can you see my screen? You can, right? Okay.
Yes.
Had a moment panic because I had a moment of panic. Okay. So Opus Clip, if we could upload the recording of this session, and it will create clips that you can post on social media. So that's one that I think could be valuable. And the last one that I am finding the most valuable after talking to other people is Gamma, create presentations. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to show you an actual example. But the other caveat to this is there's a lot of competitors. I know people that are, they are very financial focused. So they'll find the AI competitors that are least expensive, even if it doesn't do everything. So it's like what is your MVP for what you're trying to accomplish? Okay. So I'm going to show you something that I think that I would want people to know. I would want Scrum Masters to know specifically. Gamma is a tool where you can create presentations. All right. There were 3 ways that you could start by doing it. You can use a 1-line prompt, and you just say, create me a presentation, blah, blah, blah. And it's based off of cards. In my experience, from what I can tell, cards are like slides, like the number of slides you want to use. So you could say, in 5 slides, make me a presentation covering these topics. The second way is you can upload a PDF or a Word document and have it do the same thing. Please create a presentation off of this material. And then the third option was make a presentation from my predisposed outline. So y'all saw my presentation, right? I've got a few more things to cover with you after this, but you saw my presentation, Future of the Scrum Master Role. I'm going to show you what Gamma put together based off of this, okay? So the first one was off of a 1-line prompt. And I think I said my prompt was something like, please create me a 60-minute presentation on the future of Scrum Master role. And that's it. And it was the most detailed out of all of them. So it has why the Scrum Master role matters, some percentages. It's not giving me citations, so I don't even know if these are real, but if you need to create a presentation off of something really quick, this one is a traditional Scrum Master, facilitator, and protector. What that looks like. Challenge, is the Scrum Master role becoming obsolete? Literally, it's just from 1 line, all of these. Okay, so this Gamma created all this content off of a 1-line prompt. All right, so I read through it. It's pretty interesting. The second option was from an outline, and my outline was my agenda with a few more line items than what I showed you. Okay, so that's what it provided, just a summary of what I told it to provide, which it filled in. I gave it an outline and it filled in the rest with graphics, which I think is nice. If you're not I actually enjoy putting presentations together. It's actually one of my gifts. But I think that the tool like this, for one, if it's not your gift, then it just saves you a whole bunch of time and energy. But even if it is your gift, maybe some of this stuff could have actually been helpful. Okay. So this is the presentation from me putting an outline. Okay.
So it's classic AI and awfully wordy.
Yep. So then let me show you the last one. I got out of it. The last one was the presentation you actually saw. I put that into a PDF and I uploaded that into PDF. And it was actually the worst version. Just super, I mean, it gave the text was fairly okay. It picked up my mission and vision. I thought that was cool. The agenda, I did like the pre-described agenda. That was nice. Pictures all over the place, out of order. My Agile journey that I had showed you, it put that in into a actual nice timeline. So I like that. Again, pictures all out of order. It picked up my Scrum Master philosophy where I showed you where it had operations, compassion. It moved that all over the place. So in my experience, I would say uploading a PDF would probably not going to give you the best results. So my advice of maybe putting the outline and then putting your own content in it. Okay. Natalie said, going back to the comparison with typewriters and computers, there was a time for rejection. Then humanity started mass adoption and learning of the new tool, but then even that phase was over and people got more focused on what they now could create with this new tool moving forward from learning the tool itself. I'm wondering what will come next to all of us once we have adopted this new tool called AI. So this is the other thing. What was your earliest memory of AI? Natalie?
Yeah, so I'd love to share. My brother is a professor in AI and robotics. And when I first heard that he was pursuing these two dual specializations, I was thinking to myself, well, robotics is obvious. Everyone needs robots. But what is this AI? Why even bother? Yeah, so that was the first time
Okay.
I heard AI. It was pre this period when AI is everywhere.
Okay. Anybody heard of Clippy from Microsoft Office? That was a
Yeah.
form of artificial intelligence. Our the generated what do you call it? Spell check. Thesaurus, those were forms of artificial intelligence. How many of you used Ask Jeeves? Right? That was a form of artificial intelligence. So it's not really that new, generative artificial intelligence or us make, tools to make use. So I think that's another way to put it is, thinking about how we're already using it and yeah, loved Clippy. I love me some Clippy. But that it can kind of when we think about this new thing, it can create a buzzword or it can scare people, but you're like, well, you kind of already been doing it if you've been doing these type of things, right? But we also have to remember how marketing works. Have a minor in marketing, and there's different types of people. Do you know people that will go buy the AI sorry, not the AI, the Apple iPhone, the very first day, they pre-order it, every single new model, they're going to be the one in line. But then there might be people who we joke about typewriter. They may just be getting on typewriters now, right? They may think that was the best invention of the year, or they may just now be getting introduced to AI, not AI, iPhones, right? There are different people who purchase their purchasing interest vary, right? And so we talk about somebody said, how do we get people to be open-minded? There's just different tactics. Some people like to be the first and they like to have the cool and shiny things and be the one to show it off. Other people are like, I'm gonna give that a minute. I'm gonna see how everybody else does it. I'm one of those people. It's called a latent buyer. I'm one of the people I'm like, let me just see. Let me see how this, make sure, like e-bikes, let's make sure that my apartment's not going to catch on fire, right? Because an e-bike just, exploded, right? Let me see. And so we have to be attentive. That's also what I would ask Scrum, again, if I could say anything during this call, the future of the Scrum Master role is really have business acumen. Because I think these type of things of it's not just about what people will and will not do. It's like there's just different personalities of how quickly we will pick up on things. Okay. So here's an example of Gamma. We walked through 3 things. Those are ways that you can use it. All right. So then how you can learn more about it. I'm in the process. I've actually paid for this program, AI for Scrum Masters through Scrum Alliance. You could take it a live class or on demand. And I'm going to be taking it on demand. I've paid, but they're making some changes as of today, actually. There's another person I know, Stephen Wolpers, that he has an on-demand program called AI for Agile. And then I'm in a program with the Sway Academy, Marina Alex. It's much more extensive, but it's a 10-week program with 5 modules. One of the modules is on AI. And actually, Marina Alex, if you follow her on LinkedIn, she talks about AI all the time. So I like to give people actionable things that you can leave from this meeting and say, hey, this is something I can do if I'm not already doing. So here are some examples.
Marina actually presented here on our group a few
Oh,
months ago.
okay. Okay, great. So in terms of this would be my initial, like if you want to level up your AI skills and how it can look like in any job, but my specialty is the Scrum Master role. This is what I would say. In terms of my own call to actions, I mentioned this before that I am actually seeking people to interview where I'm going to ask these type of questions of, what advice do you have for new Scrum Masters? What should Scrum Masters do in the first 90 days? What are ways that you use AI practical? What are do's and don'ts? I'm asking people these questions. I would love to interview you if you're open to it. I'm also going to put a Google form if it'd be better to fill out a form. So I'm looking to interview Scrum Masters, managers of Scrum Masters, recruiters of Scrum Masters, and then business owners in general about if you're a business owner, what advice do you have for all employees? What expectations you have for all employees? And then I'm also in regards to access to trainings and whatnot. I'm also speaking at the Bahamas Agile Project Management Community Professional Development Day on November 7th. Tickets are $25, but it's important because it includes a 2-year Scrum Alliance membership. And that's for all registrants, whether you're able to attend the day or not. So I want to make sure y'all are aware of that because it also can get can get discounts to the program I just mentioned, AI for Scrum Masters and other micro-credential classes. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to you. Has this been a valuable use of your day on a scale of 1 to 5? 5 being it's best. I'm so glad I came. 1 being why did I come? Why here? And you can post in the chat or come up.
Could I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
It has to do with AI certification. So there's so many of them out there. Do you see how any of those could be relevant in the Scrum Agile space?
Well, one of the trainings is AI for Scrum Masters through Scrum Alliance. So that's one that I'm actually about to take. I've registered for it. I just haven't taken the class yet. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that going to be the only one that you pursue?
So no, so there's another one. Well, I'm currently in the program Sway Academy with Marina Alex. So I feel like before I started this program, I was super novice. Now I'm about a 5 or a 6 out of a 10. I'm nowhere an expert, but I'm much more educated just by taking her class. I feel like I will be much more educated once I take this other class. And then there's AI for Agile that Stephen Welper's his class. I think he said it's like 8 hours worth. I'll have to let you know. But those are the ones specifically from an Agile context. And there's actually Scrum Alliance has AI for product owners too, for those of you who are in product management. Yeah. Good question. All right, so I'm seeing a bunch of 5s. We got a 10. Thank you, Jan. That's very, very kind of you. Was there anything that we talked about today that was not valuable or beneficial for you? meaning like, hey, if you talk about this again, don't talk about it. If you do this presentation again, don't talk about that. Okay, and if there is, please feel free to message me because I am speaking about this topic again next Friday, and I want it to be valuable conversation for you.
That was perfect. Well
Okay.
done.
Thank you.
Katrina, I just want to add one more thing on AI because I found myself doing that now as a coach. Scrum Master's job not only for yourself, but to encourage your team to take on the AI capability and search out. And if you're in a large company, is anybody leading the fight for AI introduction, stuff like that. And I think that is a big role with Scrum Masters because a lot of times teams are too busy to ask. And sometimes the Scrum Master's job has to go out there and find out what is coming up available and get those tools in for the team. So I
Actually,
think that's another thing that Scrum Masters will be doing in the future.
oh, for sure. I'll give you an example. At my last company, I had a senior developer that we had, I think it was I can't remember if it was a release or a big bug fix. Whatever it was a big deal. And I reached out to him. He sent an email to everybody letting people know about this thing. I was like, that was a really well written email. I'm like, great job. He's like, oh, yeah, I use Copilot for that. Right. So it's not just something that people in its typical operations or administrative roles should be using AI. Everybody can use tools to be more effective.
Well, I have a BA right now. I'm fighting with manager to get him access to Zoom AI so he can record the Zoom. So sometimes your job is to break the blockers, remove them out of the way because they don't want to be the one pushing because they don't want to get hit by the management. Oh, you're so pushy. You're the one who's got to be pushy. So that's a little bit of the Scrum Master side, just to focus that for the team. I'm always about delivering stuff for the team, and how do you
Yeah,
help them?
and that's a big one because even today, with artificial intelligence and these tools being part of it, there are still some things that they're only using pilot program and not everybody has access to. And in my experience with my teams, I want everybody to have access to. I don't want to be the only one that can use Zoom or that can record on Zoom, which I've had that happen before. Where they're like, I don't have that. This tool I'm using, I don't have the permissions, right? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you got to fix that. Okay, cool.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for having me. I appreciate you. And again, if you have any other feedback, I would greatly appreciate it.
And I would highly recommend following Katrina. Look for the Scrum Mother on any Instagram. She's entertaining as well as knowledgeable. So you will get entertained and you'll get educated if you follow her, not just what's a sprint, definitions and stuff. So she does a good job. So when you go on there, you'll see stuff that's pretty good.
Thank you so much, Katrina.
Yeah.
Lovely presentation. And Greg, you are also an amazing facilitator.
I appreciate that. I got trained. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I appreciate it. And I guess if there's no more questions, we could start recording.
Yes.